Climate change is a pressing and controversial issue that ultimately shapes the world that we live in. The research and data that has been collected on climate change is enormous and startling. In the past decade, ocean levels have risen at twice the rate that they had been for the previous century. Carbon dioxide levels have reached historic highs and are correlated with rising surface temperatures. Human activity is one logical explanation for the sudden rise in carbon emissions, and many people push for action to be taken against this extensive form of pollution. Whether you are unsure of mankind's involvement in climate change, you cannot deny the powerful impact that this process is having on the place we call home. For this reason, climate change is a hotly debated topic by scientists and politicians. But is it worth taking action? How will these effects impact the way that society functions? Will these changes be more positive or negative? These are all questions we took into consideration for our 20-time project. With such drastic changes to the world, there must be changes in the local and global economy.
One of the obvious concerns to us is agriculture. With heavily fluctuating temperatures, how will crops react? And how will this affect society's supply and demand of basic foods? With the help of Professor Brent Sanjan from the Ohio State University, we were able to thoroughly research how climate change would affect crop production and distribution. In a simulation by various researchers from the article, Climate Change Effects on Agriculture, Economic Responses to Biophysical Shocks, 9 economic models were used to test the effects of various environmental scenarios on crop yields. Overall, there was found to be a 17% total decline on crop production. This severe loss of production will surely have huge consequences.
This huge effect on agriculture will carry over to the economy. This can be partially represented in the skills we've learned throughout our economics course this year. As crop yields decline due to climate change, the overall supply curve will shift to the left. This loss of production therefore increases prices. This will decrease the quantity of inferior goods demanded, as normal goods will become even more expensive. However, the decline in the food supply and rising prices makes it harder for this necessity to be efficiently allocated. Realistically, on a global scale, these changes and the responses to them will be more complicated. For example, certain countries may be unable to grow certain crops and will therefore increase the demand for a different crop that they'll be able to grow. In this graph, you can see that the supply shifts to the left, which therefore increases the price and decreases the quantity demanded.
Climate change is a serious and concerning issue that demands the attention of the government. If this decline in agriculture occurs, fiscal policy would aid in relieving some of the more drastic effects. Taxing certain goods would reduce consumption levels and be necessary to better ration the food supply. Similarly, subsidizing farmers would allow for productivity to increase. However, before these fiscal actions are necessary, the government and the general public should first take preventative measures against climate change. Simple concern for our environment can push away the more dramatic possibilities and effects on our economy. Thank you for listening to our presentation about climate change, and I hope you learned something and are ready to help the environment.